we're not very good with like reading content anymore, like reading articles. We deal with headlines, and that again comes back to the fact that it's just so compressed now.
Right.
That if the headline isn't really just like world shattering, you're not gonna even click the article to read it, right? Just because and that goes to like, it extends so much that I think in many ways it exposes our issue as a species, not even like just generational issues, which I think sometimes a bit exaggerated, because I think like you're saying, if people would be on such a decline, and if it was such a decline, by now we would be apes again. You know what I mean?
Right.
We have to just be able to say that, oh yeah, it's different, because what's happening now is we have all that information, but we're not very good in filtering what's actually useful to us, and not useful in a sense that that's entertaining, but like what's going to improve you to be a better version of who you are. And I think it's just kind of, it's still in my head now, because I was thinking about like the video we're going to be making about like creative thinking, and it's one of the issues that it's like, how do you now narrow what's actually like useful to you versus just popular? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I almost think, and this might have always been the case. I don't know if it has truly always been the case or not, but there's a part of me that feels the most successful people in the future, and maybe right now, and especially if you're a young person right now, I think with the best skill you can exercise is controlling what you pay attention to and saying no. Like, there's never been a time, it's so weird, where like here's a good example. It's like fitness is something we kind of really took for granted for like until the last 70 years or so. Until the 1970s, nobody really thought about a gym. Like, a gym didn't exist before the 70s, right? Like, it was just like you worked all day. Like, of course you're not overweight. Of course you have like, some muscle built in. The average dude was just like average strength. Some dudes are really strong, right? Some dudes like made that their whole life. But the average person was just like, didn't even have to think about it.
Yeah.
And the idea of having too much food is such an insane thing still in a lot of the world right now. The concept of having too much food is like, what are you talking about? You eat everything you can get your hands on, because you never know if you're going to have more food, and you're never going to have enough. And now we've created this culture through wonderful people and success and through hard work that provides too much. It's like you have too much food. You have more food than you know what to do with. And so the answer now is like, you have to train yourself to be like, maybe I shouldn't eat that, which just goes against like all of your instincts as a human. Like, I have 2 cats, and my one cat will eat until the food bowl's empty and then demand more, right? Just because he knows he can get it. And it's like, he's overweight. And I'm like, oh, okay. He doesn't, that's not triggering. He has no mechanism for that, to know, oh, I'm going to have food tomorrow, so I don't have to eat it all right now. Right. So, that's this crazy world we've created, is one where you have to say no to like, the idea of like, the world's changed so much, because I remember waiting in line for midnight releases, and I would sit there and I wait in line for midnight release of Godzilla, and you couldn't like, there's not a movie worth me sitting in line for nowadays, right? Like, I'm not going to do that like anymore. And part of me feels like, well, that's partly because I'm not young and I'm not a kid that's really into Percy Jackson or something. But there's also this idea of like, there's too many. There was one movie like that, every so often. There's one thing for you to do. There was like 2 programs to learn. There's whatever it is. And so now with like when it comes to like motion capture or rigging or whatever, you have like 20 different programs, and they all seem good, and they all seem, so it's like, how do you limit yourself to like which one? So I think the secret to success, anyways, long story short, is in today's world is choosing your focus and being able to block out, like putting on blockers, essentially. Like, if you can actually figure out how to ignore the like storm of whatever's going on as like everything is kind of falling apart, I think that's sort of the secret, is like being able to focus. And then also the storm of like shiny object syndrome, and then also the storm of just like inundating yourself nonstop. Like, being your own curator seems to be a skill that everyone's going to have to develop now. Like, it used to be like people curated stuff for you, and it's still, I guess it still is. It's just going to be algorithms, right? Like, algorithms now are choosing what you the type of person you are based on what you look at. So you really need to be careful about what you look at, because very quickly you're going to get fed more of whatever that is. Because like I was saying earlier, like anything you want to find, you can find anything. It's like Rule 34 has never been more true, right? And then Rule 34, right, is like, if you can think of it, there's porn of it, right? But what I mean by that isn't even porn of it. It's just, if you can think of it, it exists. Somebody's drawn whatever the mashup is between your favorite Pokemon and your favorite Star Wars character. That exists. Whichever one. Yeah. And then, so you got to choose now, because you're just gonna be fed it constantly. I don't know. It's a weird, it's a new problem for humanity that I don't think we're equipped to deal with, right? To be like, what do I ignore?
Yeah. No, I think it's kind of funny. Like when you said it, I remember like not even like, I'm not gonna even go back to like, like my ancient times, like the 90s, but even like early 2000s, mid 2000s, where like 2010, 12, where you were trying to look something up that was about like 3D. There were probably like 4, maybe 6 forums that would be active in that direction. You know what I mean? There would be like the 3D, the famous was that 3D Now, or whatever it's called, was called the name 3D forum, whatever it was called. It was the largest one. There would be City Society. There would be like ZBrush forum. There would be like few forums that you go to, and there would be like one guy that had the same issue. If you know what I mean? Or 2 guys. You're like, oh shit. Okay, so you can actually. Okay, so this is how you do it. But now it's almost like that. There's stuff that I sometimes get asked questions about like work. Like the question that people ask are often just so easy to answer that I think it's almost hard to know how to ask the question, because it gets so granular now, right? Like before I would say, okay, how do I make a nose? Okay, I'll get a nose tutorial, you know what I mean? Like, or something like that. Now it's like, how do you make those pores to be like from the Lord of the Rings or so shit? Like it's so granular that people don't know. Like I have people saying to me, how would you make this? And I was like, oh, it's this. And they go, oh, but how would you say it? I was like, no, it's just that. Just Google that. That's what it is. Yeah. It's like people, because I think there's so much information coming through that it's very hard to say, what is that, like the spectrum of your, like both how you take in that information, but also how you ask the questions like internally. Like it's weird, like how you filter it, right? But like how you go, oh, what is the, okay, what do I need? It's almost, I think it's like, it's literally like that thing with like, we see so much stuff, and it's not even that we see stuff that's like irrelevant. We see so much stuff that's relevant to us as well. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I had people telling me like my new work looks like this artist, and I had to literally look him up, and I was like following him, but I haven't seen his work for ages, which is possible that I just had a good like impression of his work from like 5 years ago, and his style is in this direction. But I was also like, because they were like, oh, it looks like his new stuff. But I was like, I haven't, and I actually, because of like the, how Instagram works, is like, they don't really show you the content you subscribe to. So I was like, I actually forgot the guy was making work. I actually forgot he's doing stuff, And I was like, oh shit, that's really good. But I was like, I have not seen his stuff in like 3 years. You know what I mean? Yeah. But at the same time, it's almost like there's so much stuff coming to your eyeballs that it, like I sometimes purposely just don't follow up on things anymore. Because I'm just like, I've seen this. I'm not even like trying to be dismissive to like people's talent or, hard work and time and stuff like that. But I'm like, it's fine. I got it. I got it. I like it. Let me just take a break. And sometimes I stumble on like a post after like a year or even a few months. I'm like, oh, here's some new stuff. I like it. Right. But I know that people that follow, like I had people that would message me about like my kind of stuff, And sometimes, there's an interesting impression because some people will see your progress, and some people will say that, oh, it's like you kind of doing the same stuff, And I was like, it's like, yeah, because at this point, everything is so granular that you have to also look at how you take this in. Because if you take every post that I make, then that progress might look not much, right? Right. I actually was joking, like, I did I'm doing like a project now with a coloring book for like adults. Like I got into it, and I was like, something that I have to have like there's no screen that I have to look at. It's actually just paper. Right. And and the summer was so nice. It was like very light till the evening. So I was like, I want something that's going to be like completely like natural light, and I have to look at screens and I have to do stuff. And then I started going through my work, and I was like, just looking at my work that I'm going to kind of redo as line work. And I was like, man, the last 2 years I changed so many things, you know? And it's funny though, because I post something that's like 2 years old and people are like, looks good. And I was like, it doesn't. Actually, it doesn't. But I think that saturation of stuff, it's just so high that it's like you have to, like, and it is not even a complaint about people. It's just how I think we all struggle with it. It's like you have to squint to like go, oh yeah, it's different. It's like, what's the difference, you know?